Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us, and happy to have on the set Brendan Deso, the chair of the St. Albans Town Select Board. Morning, Brendan.
Morning, Richard.
And I should note at the start, we're taping this show on Monday, January 24th, as winter's gotten fairly serious around here for a change. Another pretty frosty morning. A noteworthy day in terms of March town meeting, Brendan. And again, folks won't see the show until after today, but again, as we're talking on Monday morning, January 24th, the filing deadline for candidates running for town office at March town meeting is later today, I believe, 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And noteworthy news in St. Albans Town, boy, you're two of your five members, I guess, not running again. Jessica Frost, the vice chair of the board, and Aaron Creeley.
Yeah, we're losing.
And that's for sure as we speak, with the filing deadline still hours away. They've made it clear, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they announced publicly on social media, and now we're going to be very sad to lose them both, and big shoes to fill for whoever fills their terms going forward. They both have had a lot changed professionally since they first ran. I know Jessica's in a new position at the hospital, and Aaron, of course, is a field office director for the Department of Health in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, you got to think she's got to be extremely busy with her job.
She's very taxed. I know, I can think a half a dozen times where we've had 6:30 meetings, and she might have not eaten until that point all day just because she's been that busy.
Wow.
She goes in early and leaves late, and if she were an NBA player, we'd be saying she left it all out on the floor.
Really?
And Jessica, she's moved away from Rise, Vermont into a different role for the hospital that's a little bit more intense.
Wow.
And of course, her children are all getting closer to the age where they'll be leaving for college. So we're sad to see them go, but they couldn't have better reasons for not running again.
Yeah.
They did a lot of good service to our community, and we know that if we need advice or help staffing a committee, or just to check in with someone, we know that they're both just a phone call away, and they both made it clear that they're not throwing their signs away. So if a time in the near to distant future, opens up and they think they might want to run again, you could see them back.
That's good. No, it sounds like they both served the town very well. I did stop by the town office last Friday, talked to the town clerk, Anna Borden, and at that point, no one had filed. But again, you're hearing some names of potential candidates.
Yeah, I think Joe Sinagra. I used to be the director for the Home Builders and Remodelers Association.
Yeah.
He's running. I just had breakfast with him Saturday morning at Green Mountain Cafe, supporting a local town business. He's got a lot of good ideas, and I think he's interested to dive in and really get up to speed on what all of our issues are and our several irons we have in the fire at the moment, and see how he can help. He's got the right attitude, and I know that he really wants to work with the city however possible, like all of us on the select board do. So that he'll be good for city-town relations, I think. I've heard, I'm probably talking out of school, that Stanley Dukas might run.
As in former longtime board member.
Mm-hmm. He's been chair. He served 2 terms, non-consecutive, and he was mulling it last time I spoke to him. But it was a discussion with his family on whether or not he'd move forward. We would take Stanley back with open arms. He's got a lot of institutional knowledge, and he's a hawk financially speaking. So. He's got a lot of good experience from Mylan in personnel and asset management. So, not Mylan, IBM. Sorry, you get the two confused. Yeah. But so those are the names we've heard. Yeah. I guess we'll know more at 5:01. Yeah.
Again, as we say, we're typing the show on Monday, January 24th. So later today, that will be known. On the odd chance that say just one candidate file for the 2 open seats. Obviously, the select board could appoint a member.
I think we try to find someone and do a well-rounded write-in campaign in that scenario. But if we couldn't make that happen, then yes, the select board would probably appoint. So that would be something that we would have to entertain in March.
Right.
But
hopefully it won't come to that.
No, hopefully not. I mean, I had someone come up the other day and said, well, if the select board wasn't doing, what the town wanted in large part, you'd have contested races all the way through.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a sign of our success that it's hard to find candidates because enough people think things are going well enough that they don't need to devote their time to it. But we're grateful for Joe stepping up, and if Stanley makes a decision to come back, we'll be glad to have him. I mean, we appointed him town agent this year just to try to keep him involved. His institutional knowledge from being around and a part of the town for the better part of the last 10 years is very valuable to both the staff and the board.
I've got the town warning for March town meeting day, and coming up as early as it could be this year, March 1st. I guess the legislature, again, gave communities the option to have it on a different date. Is that anything that crossed your mind, or you're comfortable with March 1st?
No, we went with March 1st, and we're mailing all registered voters ballots.
Okay.
So we're going to do a vote by mail again. In person will be available at the complex, same as last year, but it just about doubled our average participation.
Wow.
So we at the town, we like to put our money where our mouths are. When we say we want a transparent government with as much community involvement as possible, I mean, we mean it. So our, Corey Parent, Carrie Johnson, our zoning office, maybe our assistant assessor will all be downstairs in the boardroom helping the clerk and assistant clerk stuff ballots, get them out in the mail in a timely manner. It'll be a team effort. The clerk's office and administrative staff and other departments will all pitch in, and that's what we're all about, working together to provide as much access as possible.
Brendan, the town budget for the new fiscal year starting July 1st, about $5.3 million, up a bit over the current year? Or?
100,000 or so, roughly. I mean, we had a 6% cost of living adjustment across the board. Some departments where we had fallen out of step, like Public Works, for example, we had done a little bit of research and found that our hourly wages weren't competitive with the private sector for CDL drivers, and we had to make some pretty costly adjustments there. But we found savings within the Public Works budget and other parts of the budget to cover it. You'll notice that the Sheriff's Department, their year 2 of their 5-year contract is a bit cheaper than year 1, so that was a one-time savings to help us take on this 6% cost of living increase. And
oh, really? So the second year is cheaper than the first year?
Yes, usually it works that way with law enforcement contracts. You work in equipment on certain years, and other years you don't have to pay for it. So that'll come right back to where it was at in year 1 and year 3. So it's a one-time dip. Our biggest concern at the moment as a municipality is watching our CLA, our common level of assessment with the state of Vermont. We dropped another 5%, same as last year, a little less than last year, but within a point. We've gone from about 100, which is exactly where you want to be, to about 90 in 2 years. 85 triggers a reappraisal.
85% done.
So there are a lot of communities in the same boat as us, and I think the legislature will have to make some kind of a one-time adjustment for this set of reappraisals, because you might have 25 communities triggering a reappraisal this year, and an average year you might have 5 to 10.
Well, and reappraisal, that's usually not good news for folks who hear about reappraisals. Burlington, of course, coming off a pretty, I guess, controversial reappraisal, for lack of a better word.
I don't know all the details with that. I would say that we would be actively going through and giving people an accurate evaluation on their property, whichever reappraisal firm we work with, and that the tax rate would be expected to fall. If the grand list grows by 20% overnight due to a reappraisal, we would expect that tax rate to fall, so the dollar for dollar contribution would be the same.
I guess in Burlington's case, residential folks took the hit and businesses fared a lot better, I think. I don't know if that's often the case. I guess it depends on the community.
I think it is, especially because residential homeowners usually end up holding their homes for 10, 15 years at a time and maybe never apply for a building permit. If you apply for a permit to build a new porch on the front of your house this year, by May 15th of next year, our assessing office would look at that permit, would probably do a drive-by inspection of your house, and they would adjust what you're appraised for at that point, given the addition of the porch in this case. You have a lot of people that never go through that process, they never transfer their house. So there's no opportunity for the assessor's office to really go in and bump that to a current market value. But you'll see a lot of commercial and industrial operators in the town are applying for building permits and making changes on a regular basis. And I know, like, I wouldn't be shocked to find out that the Highgate Commons Shopping Center is the same value that it was, you know, the last time we went through a reappraisal in 07, 08, I think it was.
That's all right. It was about maybe 15 years ago. Huh?
It's been a while. I mean, they don't have Staples anymore. They've got a lot of open storefronts, and that all factors in with the value of the property. It'll be tricky. The trickiest part is, like everything right now, there's a long wait for a firm that can do a reappraisal for a municipality our size.
Boy, the name I remember from going back decades, probably for, it's funny, I think of a few things. Douglas MacArthur and Associates out of Montpelier, are they still, does that name mean anything? I'm going back decades, so.
I'm sure Anna Borden would be able to tell me exactly.
But the reappraisal firm probably pretty busy these days. Huh?
I heard a 4-year wait.
Right, is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
So I wouldn't be shocked if the legislature allowed assessors, qualified assessors, and maybe even listers to do like a tabletop reappraisal and apply like averages to certain, you know. There's no way that we could be expected to wait for a reappraisal 4 years from the day it's triggered, and it'd be a mess for the ed fund, I would think.
Yeah. I guess like the city, St. Albans Town, St. Albans Museum, Historical Museum, looking for some more bucks, and the select board supporting that additional expenditure. Does that come up like for a vote or anything, or?
I think it hasn't. I think a quorum of us would vote for it.
Yeah.
But the last time we had an increase for the museum, it was placed on the ballot. The city's placing this round of increase on the ballot. So we're following suit.
You're comfortable with that? You would personally support giving these?
I'll take this cap off and put my vice president.
You're hooked in. I guess that's a pretty obvious question. Huh?
Yeah, was a co-president, and now I'm vice president of the St. Albans Museum Board of Trustees.
That says it all.
Our last article in the town would have been 2019 to go from 5 to 10,000 passed about 2 to 1. Now it's a very different climate than 2019.
Yeah.
Folks are stretched. Inflation last year, they say it was 7%.
Right.
It felt like 30.
Wow.
So we'll see. I
Well,
mean,
first time in years inflation was even an issue.
oh gosh, first time in my life I remember anybody talking about it. Really, I mean, I lived through the Great Recession, but inflation wasn't necessarily
Pretty much going back to Jimmy Carter days.
Yeah, Reagan having to deal with it through the first term of his presidency. Yeah.
Yeah, no, big issue.
Yeah.
So the museum has some real issues. That's like a roof issue, pretty significant.
It does. The roof, I mean, the front steps, you know, the bliss room could use even a little bit of a cosmetic touch up, even though it was redone, you know, a decade ago. We have, all of our exhibit rooms have no HVAC equipment. They're not heated or cooled.
Wow.
So this time of the year, you can't go in them because it's frigid. And in the middle of the summer, we may have to close for the safety of our volunteers due to heat.
Really?
We need to really kick off a capital campaign, but it seems to be impossible to get a step ahead with programming or capital planning and real meaningful fundraising for the building when we struggle, you know, every day to keep the lights on and the doors open.
Wow.
There were over, I would guess that, you know, this last year there were close to 4,000 volunteer hours put into that.
Really? Yeah, my kid used to log sometime as a volunteer for a year or two.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of dedicated trustees. We've got a whole team of people, you know, Richard Stahl, Dr. Holmes, that lead our building maintenance crew. We call them the B team. They're very dedicated. And you'd see a lot of these volunteers, you know, whether they're on our accessions committee, if they need stationery or pens, they'll go to Walmart or to Staples in Williston and they'll buy the printer paper and the pens, and they'll pay for it out of pocket and never look for a reimbursement. If somebody on our building maintenance crew needs to head down to you know, the Winters family Ace Hardware right on Main Street, and they have to buy $15 worth of whatever, they're not looking for a reimbursement in most cases.
No, you've got some top people involved in the museum.
We do, but it's
Boy.
it's a $130,000 shoestring budget to
Really?
just bare bones skeleton it,
Wow.
and our municipalities contribute about 30,000 of that at the moment. So we're asking for that 30,000 to go to 50. There's been a private community member who stepped forward this year and offered both communities we're calling it a challenge grant. This person said if the city and the town or one or the other passes this extra 10,000, that person will match it dollar for dollar this year. So if both communities pass it, we'll see an additional $20,000 from this private person. If one or the other passes, we'll get 10,000, and if nobody passes it, that person will keep all $20,000. So
Interesting.
it's definitely an opportunity for the community to turn what was a $30,000 contribution our last fiscal year into something really
Right.
meaningful for the museum.
Just to be clear on Article 6, again, looking for an additional 10,000 to kick it up, the town's contribution to 25,000. If that was voted no, the museum still gets 15,000.
Still gets the 15. That's the way
Okay.
it's set up.
Another issue that caught my eye, maybe not surprisingly, Article 5. Shall the legal voters of the town of St. Albans authorize the retail sale of cannabis within the town limits? Did you get, did the select board decide to put that on, or?
We did.
Really interesting. Do you think that'll pass? Have you got a feel for that?
I have no earthly idea.
Really?
I like to think that I can read the community pretty well.
Yeah.
No clue.
No clue. Would
No
you like
idea.
that to pass? Have you got strong feelings one way or the other?
If the state would let us put a reasonable excise tax on it that we could use to fund recreation programming
Yeah.
or something of that sort, I would be very much for it.
Would the town get some money if that?
Right now, no.
No, nothing right now.
But I think the legislature is looking into that this
Huh.
session, is what I hear. So I don't know. A lot of things can change in not a lot of time under the Golden Dome. We're going to hold out and see what happens. We'll have the planning commission ready an interim bylaw change that zones us in an appropriate area. I know the Cannabis Control Board issues licenses, much like the Liquor and Lottery Commission.
Yeah.
So it'd be a new process if it passes. I think you'll see most people who vote for it won't vote for it so that they themselves can go to whatever dispensary ends up opening up. It'll be more of a, well, if we can capture money off of it at some point and people are going to drive, you got people in this community driving to Maine and Massachusetts, and when the
Yeah.
borders open, they go to Quebec, and it seems like that's the way of the times. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Interesting. So no feeling. So you'll be interested to see what happens with that.
No, I mean, if we had a very strong inclination one way or the other,
Yeah.
I mean, we'd probably be pushing in that direction. But given that we don't really know, and it's not something that's had a broad community discussion in the past, we're just going to let the voters vote on it.
Yeah. Did anybody approach the board? Where did that article come from?
Yeah, so a former planning commissioner, Jack Nicol, he was a software designer, and he's a former Marine actually too. He runs a small business trimming hemp for hemp farmers, and I'm sure there's a cannabis application in there somewhere too if this were to go through. And he brought a couple of legalization advocates to the select board, and I think it was the head of the Vermont Growers Association, if I don't quote me on that, but we heard from people both for and against, and given that we have no earthly idea, I don't think you'd get anybody on the board to bet more than $5 one way or the other.
Really interesting.
It'd be interesting to see how that one goes.
Yeah. With the mail-in voting, again, as you said, I guess, that kicked up your turnout big time a year ago?
Doubles it, yeah.
To about
1,800.
Is that right?
Yeah, usually you could set your clock.
Wow.
Since I've been involved with running town meeting day elections as a candidate, and with the town in my off year, you could almost set your clock if you're not in a primary year, if you're not in a presidential primary, if there's nothing of large expense on the ballot. If you just have a normal year, you could set your clock to 900 to 950
Really
people.
interesting. So that doubled it about.
It did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we're gonna continue to do that as long as we can. I think the feeling is.
Yeah, town meeting day attendance has been pretty discouraging. I've been around for almost a half century's worth of town meetings around here, and it just seemed like it used to be. So it just seems like it's faded. So it's great to hear a way to get a bigger turnout.
Exactly. I mean, we'll turn out, 70, 80% of our registered voters in a
Wow.
contested presidential election.
Yeah.
I mean, people in this community vote. It's just, a lot of times a lot of people aren't tuned into what the municipality's up to,
Yeah.
and us mailing ballots is an opportunity for people to sit down at their kitchen table and, read a question, and instead of having to check something off on something they're not totally aware
Yeah.
of and put that in the tabulator and walk out the door within a very short amount of time, they have the
Yeah.
opportunity to pick up their phone or get on their computer and do some research before they vote. So that's another opportunity too.
Well, the pandemic news sure seems pretty discouraging these days. Almost 2 years into this, sure seems like we're having a lot of trouble to fight our way out of this.
It's
Probably still doing public, and town hall is still open. Well, I walked in myself Friday, so town hall is still open to the public.
Town hall is open, masks required. We
Yeah.
are not requiring proof of vaccination to get in the building.
Have some folks thought that would be a good thing to do?
I haven't heard it, but I'm just
No.
saying, just so everyone knows, if you're
Huh.
unvaccinated, we'd ask that you follow whatever the CDC or health department
Yeah.
guidelines are for masks specifically, but you need to have at least a cloth mask to enter
Yeah.
the building.
Yeah.
You see that the new recommendation seems to be like an N95 with a surgical and then a cloth or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
it sounds like
It's-
surgicals are okay, but it sounds like the N95. But yeah, the cloth masks are getting not the best words these days.
See, the Biden administration is releasing 400 million N95s from the federal stockpile.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. What ARPA money, American Rescue Plan Act money, Brendan, the town has how much to play with, so to speak?
about 1.9,
Wow.
about half of that's in. Got about 957 in the door, 1,000.
Huh. And have you figured out some of that? What to do with some of that? Most of it, or
We just hired an engineering firm to start scoping out what it would look like to put decentralized sewer systems in to cover certain areas of the St. Albans Bay Village area. We want to get as many older septics off the waterfront as possible. We
Yeah.
want to make it an economic development, water quality dual project. Our stormwater coordinator and our director of operations are leading that charge for us. The select board and the manager are involved, of course, but they're the 2-point people on it.
and you've got some time. You've got some time to work with. You got a few years.
Yeah, I think we've got 3 or 4 to spend it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be tough to get it done in that time frame, but
Yeah.
there's water quality projects that we could do if things didn't work out. And we've had a couple of meetings now with the town and village of Swanton.
Right.
One meeting with the town and village, and then we had an earlier meeting with just the village, talking about doing a decentralized sewer system for the exit 20
Up around exit
area.
20.
We think
Huh.
that the more services we can provide to that growth center, you've seen it in Swanton. The Gagne Brothers Auto Body Garage, Mother Hubbard's. There's a
Right.
church. It's already starting to expand out that way.
Huh.
You see, Tractor Supply has a huge mound in the front of their property.
Huh.
So we think if Swanton could see some real good commercial growth out that way, it would definitely bleed back into our jurisdiction. It might help fill up some of the Davis lots in front of Walmart. We're trying to time it with the Haddad Subaru construction, and of course we're still waiting on certainties, but we're pretty confident that a Camping World of America is coming to town.
That's right. Has Haddad been? Are they behind their time frame? Are they pretty much shut down for the winter? Have you got a handle on
I
that?
think they're still working in there.
Yeah.
I know DEW construction
Boy,
is still working in the
big
town hall.
place.
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's a $7-8 million construction.
Really?
If
Wow.
that's just what I'm hearing. So it's
Huh.
definitely a major investment
Yeah.
in the community.
But still, no. And again, the expectation going back years was when Walmart finally fought their way into town, that there'd be, maybe a Home Depot, Lowe's, or something. But no rumblings about anything next to Walmart still.
Now, I've never gone into the land records and looked at the site plan, but it's been common municipal talk that Lowe's had permits in place to put a center in right next to Price Chopper,
Okay.
and that came to fruition right around the time that they closed 48 stores nationwide and they
Wow.
abandoned this project. So there are properties available that could support something like that.
Yeah.
Of course, the community has a few hardware stores, and we have Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber over in Swanton that could be irreparably harmed by something like that. But
In fact, I think some folks in Enosburg, there's a Tractor Supply, I guess, being built in Enosburg now.
Oh, really?
I think some of the local stores here are probably less than thrilled with that, understandably, from their point of view.
Well, it seemed to be a lot of the opponents of the Walmart project said that it would have killed downtown St. Albans.
Of course, that was the main reason why Walmart went down in the first place, with the Vermont Environmental Board ruling that it would have trashed downtown St. Albans.
Well, right, and now you see downtown St. Albans is probably better off than it ever has been, and they managed to pull hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the developer of Walmart, Jeff Davis, for the downtown area. Whether that was right or wrong, I won't get into that, but it happened.
Yeah.
So the downtown area was compensated for a problem that never occurred. I don't know. I think Staples would have more to say about whether or not Walmart harmed their business than probably any other retailer in the area.
Yeah.
But again, there's probably someone watching this thinking that's a really insensitive comment. But
Yeah. Having seen a couple, I should have brought my skates. I've gotten back into skating, bought myself some new skates, but saw a couple people skating on St. Albans Bay, where I usually get out a time or two. Now it snows. But I did notice the perhaps future skating rink at the Bay Park. It looks like that's going to happen. You're going to take a shot at that?
We're doing it. We partnered with Mill River and SASA, Mill River Brewery, and the St. Albans Skating Association.
Looks like
And
weather might actually be cooperative for a change.
we were supposed to lay plastic and wet it this week. I'm headed down to the town hall around 11 o'clock today. I'm going to make a trip into the park to see how we're coming. But Mill River's hosting a tournament. You can find more information on their Facebook page, and you can call Town Hall. We'd be happy to hook you up with Mill River. There were limited teams available, given that this is year one. But yeah, there'll be SASA will get some ice time for their participation in allowing us to use their boards. There's always limited ice time in this community for kids, and then we'll also have some public skate opportunities, which I think are going to be very well received.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll try to take advantage of that. Down to about 2 minutes, Brendan. New town hall going well.
Windows, doors are in. Temporary power's been established. The roof is going on. We're projecting that we are on budget and on schedule for our April completion.
Wow.
We are ordering furniture soon, so it's really exciting. We're picking out names of all the conference rooms and ordering signage and putting the finishing touches on a few of the finishes. And
Boy, I think of those workers on some pretty frigid days around here, and just hang in there and do their thing, I guess. Huh?
they, you'd be hard pressed to find a tougher collective group than construction workers.
Well, I'm probably right about that.
Yeah, they're at it in 100-degree weather in the summer and negative 10 degrees in the winter. They're showing up for work every day and backbone of the economy, I would say.
Sheriff's Department coverage in the town going okay as you see it?
Yeah, very. Yep. We had a
Sure
survey come back.
Seems like we're seeing news of robberies of convenience stores about every other day, just in Vermont, maybe every place else too.
I don't know if that has something to do with the relaxation of supplemented federal COVID supports to private people.
Yeah.
Like the supplemented unemployment. I don't know if they're. I don't know. We see it just in general with the general public that people are not more fragile, but definitely more. They're more easy to argue with. I don't know how to exactly say it, but people are not on edge, but they're getting close.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're into this 2 years, and it seems like it's worse now than it's ever been.
Yeah.
The vaccine was supposed to be something that put this in check, but we're fighting forward. We'll get through it.
The fight will continue. On that note, we'll stop there. Hey, thanks for coming out. Brendan Deso, the chair of the St. Albans Town Select Board. And again, Marchtown Meeting Day, not too far away, coming up on March 1st. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. Thanks to producer Roger. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time.